Negative gearing. You've definitely heard the term thrown around, right? It sounds like some kind of secret handshake for property investors. Honestly, it's one of Australia's most talked about financial topics and probably one of the most misunderstood. So today, we're going to cut through all that noise and figure out what's really going on. So let's just get right to it and tackle the biggest myth of all. Is negative gearing just some kind of magic trick? A clever, legal way to get a big fat check from the tax office every year? I mean, is it basically free money? Let's find out.
To answer that, we've got to get past the confusing jargon. So what on earth is negative gearing, really? Okay, honestly, it's way simpler than it sounds. It just means you own an investment property, and at the end of the year, the money it costs you to own and maintain that property is more than the rent you collected from your tenants. If the costs are higher than the income, you've made a loss on paper. That's it. You are negatively geared.
So what kind of expenses are we talking about? Well, it's all the usual stuff you'd expect. Council rates, insurance, any repairs you had to do. You can even claim things like depreciation, which is just an on-paper way of accounting for wear and tear. But the big one, the one that almost always pushes a property into a loss, is the interest you pay on the mortgage. That's really the engine of this whole strategy.
All right, enough with the theory. Let's make this super practical and run some real numbers. Let's invent a case study. We'll call her Sarah. She's just bought an investment property, and we're going to take a peek at her finances for the first year.
Okay, so here are the basics. Sarah's property is bringing in $30,000 a year in rent. Nice. But her total expenses, including that huge mortgage interest bill, add up to $55,000. You don't need a calculator to see the issue here. The costs are way, way higher than the income.
And that leaves her with this big, bold number, a $25,000 loss for the year. This is what the accountants call a net rental loss. I mean, looking at that, it seems like a pretty terrible investment so far, doesn't it?
But here's where the magic trick seems to come in. Under Australian tax law, Sarah can take that 25 grand property loss and subtract it from her other income, like her 9-to-5 salary. And this is the key to the whole thing. It lowers the total amount of income she has to pay tax on for the year.
So what does that actually mean for her wallet? Well, let's say Sarah's in a pretty high tax bracket, paying about 39 cents in tax for every extra dollar she earns. By lowering her taxable income by 25 grand, she ends up saving $9,750 in tax. This is the part everyone gets excited about, the money back from the ATO.
Okay, so she got almost 10 grand back from the tax office. She's in the green, she's made a profit, she's cracked the code, right?
No, absolutely not. And this right here is the #1 thing people get wrong about negative gearing. Even after you factor in that nice tax refund, Sarah is still down $15,250 in real cash for the year. The tax refund didn't create a profit, it just reduced the size of her loss. She is still paying money out of her own pocket every single week just to hold on to this property.
Which, leads us to the million-dollar question. If you are guaranteed to be losing thousands of dollars in actual cash every year, why on earth would anyone sign up for this? What is the real point?
Because investors are playing the long game. They are willingly taking a calculated cash loss each year, in this case over 15 grand, because they are betting on something much, much bigger, capital growth. If Sarah's property goes up in value by, say, 6%, that's a $48,000 gain on paper. See the trade-off? You're trading a small, definite loss for a shot at a much larger potential gain. And there's a cherry on top. When Sarah eventually decides to sell, that big capital gain gets some very friendly treatment from the tax office. As long as she's held the property for more than a year, she typically only has to pay tax on half of the profit. So it's that powerful 1-2 punch. You get a tax deduction on your losses along the way, and then a tax discount on your profit at the end.
So this is obviously not a strategy for everyone. I mean, it comes with some pretty serious risks. That brings us to some pretty clear green lights and red flags to help you figure out when this strategy might or might not be the right move.
This strategy really starts to make sense if you can tick a few of these boxes. If you're a high-income earner, your tax refund is going to be bigger, which helps soften the blow of those annual losses. But most importantly, you need to have a great property that's likely to grow in value, you need the patience to hold it for the long haul, and you absolutely need a cash buffer to cover those losses without breaking a sweat.
Now, on the other hand, these are some massive red flags. If you're counting on that tax refund just to make your mortgage payments, you're living on a financial knife's edge. If your job isn't secure, or if you bought a dud property that's not growing in value, then you're taking on all of the risk with none of the potential reward. and that is just a recipe for financial disaster.
Phew, okay. We've busted the myth, we've done the math, and we've uncovered the real motivation. So if there's only one thing you remember from all of this, what should it be?
It's this, simple as that. The tax refund is a bonus. It's a nice little subsidy that helps you along the way. It is not the reason to buy an investment property. The decision has to be driven by the quality of the asset itself and its potential for long-term growth. The tax break just makes the journey a little bit less expensive.
And there you have it, our explainer on negative gearing, based on analysis from Your Investment Property magazine. Now please remember, this is a really complex strategy with very real risks, so it is absolutely critical to get professional, personalized financial advice before you even think about making a decision like this.